So I'm at my latest property refurbishment project. It's a 3-bed house in Sunderland. And as you can tell from the funky wallpaper behind me, it needs a little bit of upgrading. So it's going to need a full refurbishment throughout. This property I bought off market, 55k purchase price. Once the works are done, it's worth around 110k. I'm going to keep this one for the long term, so I'm going to rent it out, enjoy that monthly passive income, and also through the equity I've created in this deal, I'll be able to pull out the initial funds invested by refinancing the property and then using those funds to go on to the next deal. So this method of buying properties, refurbishing them, renting them out, refinancing them is a really powerful way to recycle your cash and build long-term wealth and passive income. So it's something I've done many times. Definitely recommend it. So this property, good news is from the outside looking at the property, there's nothing major to do. The roof's okay, the brickwork's all right. Inside, one of the ways I'm going to add a lot of value to this property is I'm going to change the layout. So currently it has a very dingy, poxy, unworkable little kitchen, which realistically for a family isn't going to be that appealing. Some people might rent it, but I want universal appeal. I want people lining up to pay top whack for rent. And in order to do that, I've got to create as much value as possible. And also want to make sure that if I do want to sell the property in the future, that it's actually going to be really appealing to all buyers and not just someone that I might be able to get if it's cheap enough. Now, I want to make sure that it's really going to appeal to most buyers looking at this property. So to do that, I need to add some value. So I'm going to create a bigger kitchen dining room by simply getting the load bearing wall that separates the kitchen and dining room, get that knocked through so that really opens up that space. Now to do that, because it's structural work, I'll need to get a structural engineer involved to provide calculations for the steel that needs to be used to support that. So to make sure that that wall can come out and it can actually be adequately supported. So I'll need a structural engineer involved. I'll also need to notify building control. So I'll have to put through a building notice with a local council to make sure they're happy with the works that are being done. So that'll mean there'll be various inspections. Building control will come out and they'll check the work in various stages before ultimately being happy with the work and signing it off. So giving a building control completion certificate. If you are project managing refurb projects like I do, or if you're hiring someone to do it for you, so if you're just having a builder do all this work for you, whatever it is, whichever route you decide to take, make sure that you are fully adhering to all the regulations involved. So if there needs to be building control for the work you're doing, make sure that a building notice has been put in and make sure those inspections are happening, that they've been arranged. Last thing you want to do is come sell the property in the future and realize you don't have sign off for the works. That's going to make it a lot harder to sell the property. So make sure you go through that process. And if there are regulations involved like building control, that you are making sure it gets done. So that's really important. So in order to make the kitchen work in the way that I see it working, I'm going to put the sink where the window is currently near the back door. Now, in order to do that, I'll need to brick up the current back door, and then I'll add a new door to the garden where the radiator is in the dining room. So that is going to mean it's a lot more functional. It's an open plan space, a lot more appealing to families. And I have spent a bit more than if I would spend just leaving it the way it is. But then in the long term, I'm going to get that money back and I'm going to get definitely more rent, most likely, more value in the long term. So it makes sense to do that. So a quick structural change to the property, a bit of structural work involved makes a big difference. It's not a huge amount in the grand scheme of things, realistically. Aside from that, this property is also going to need a full electrical rewire. Electrics haven't been touched for a very long time. Some of the windows do need replaced as well. The heating, so the boiler's fine. That's fairly new. The radiators are newer than the rest of the things in this house, so that's good. So they could do with a spruce up with a bit of radiator paint. Aside from that, don't need to be replaced, so that's good. It's going to need a lot of boarding, so the plasterer will have to come in and do a lot of boarding because some of the ceilings are cracked, look like they're about to fall down. So that needs doing before the plasterer comes in and skims the property throughout, so before it gets completely replastered throughout. So that'll be a fair amount of cost involved doing that, but it'll be well worth it. Aside from that, of course, it's going to have new kitchen, new bathroom. It's going to be decorated. It's going to have new flooring throughout. Some of the internal doors are going to need to be replaced as well. So there's a fair amount of work. It's more than just a standard quick buy-to-let refurbishment project. There's a little bit more structural work involved, but nothing major. But the end result is going to be a much better layout, a much improved family home. That will allow me to get solid passive income coming in on the rent every month and create long-term equity for long-term wealth, which again is a great way of building wealth in property. So hopefully this project's going to go to plan. There's going to be no major hiccups. We'll find out, but I'm looking forward to getting started. I love working on projects like this, turning a house that's very dated, that hasn't been touched for a long time, and making it into a really nice family home. So you'll be hearing more from me about this project in the future. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified as soon as the next video comes out.